All right, we are here. We are live. We're rolling strong here as we're going to have one smooth live show here coming up here. We got a lot here to get to here. You got myself, Layton Smith, Greg DeLeg, and Ethan Berry here. We are excited here to be back for another Tuffy Talk Live episode, y'all. So first of all, Greg, what's going on, bud? Dude, you got some new lighting, man, too, dude. It's a little bit redder.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. We'll get it going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, you've been with us before. You know the drill, but do us a big favor. Start us off here. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to do that here right now. If that subscribe button's lighting up for you, that means you haven't hit it yet. So make sure to go ahead and smash that subscribe button right now. And go ahead and give us a like too as well, so the YouTube algorithm can pick it up and we can roll into it here. But I'm actually going to go ahead too and add some of these comments here to the stage so everybody can hear, since you can see what's going on. But we already got RB Malone 3 saying Heart the Wolfpack. I got our friend Michelle here in the chat. Good marvelous Monday evening, Wolfpack Nation. And Wee Jones 426. When are y'all going to get Scotty on and have him make a version of that song? Make it happen. Greg, I don't know, man. I don't know. Can you foot that bill?
Yeah. No, I can't. No. Thanks for asking.
Sing it for us, though, Greg.
Not in my best drunken karaoke days could I make that happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, I want to start off with the just go ahead and get it out of the way here. I know this is gonna be Greg's favorite part of the live show here, but I gotta give a shout out, rightfully so, Greg, to our very own Carolina Hurricanes for winning the Stanley Cup, and they are officially the 2026 Stanley Cup champions, man. Hey, Greg, it's not even 24 hours old, man.
Nah, it's cool.
I'd get it if it was, a couple days, even a week, but hey, listen, even 24 hours, huge win for NC State's very own Rod Brindamore, man, who rocks the NC State gear, man. So got to give huge shout out there, and also too as well for just as a reminder to Wolfpack Nation, our very own Justin Gainey was the siren sounder for. I believe it was the game 1 of Ottawa. And then, Coach Doran did, I think it was game 1 of the Montreal series, which, everybody gave Doran plenty of, let's say, props over. Oh. So, flag props, whatever. Yeah, no, it wasn't good here. But again, huge shout out to the Carolina Hurricanes. It's definitely the one team that brings NC State, Wake Forest, UNC, Duke fans all together. And so I've been rocking my Canes jersey all day today. I know, Ethan, you were putting out a couple of screenshots and tweets last night, man. Again, man, it's just huge, really, for the city and for the area and the town, man. Just bringing the whole community together. I mean, the watch parties were ridiculous. Seeing every single seat in the Lenovo Center filled last night, it was just a rocking place, to say the least, man. So I don't know, just like Ethan, just what's your kind of feelings being 24 hours post
not even
Carolina Hurricanes win, man? Not even. Yeah. More like 21 hours.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a diehard hockey guy. Mostly thanks to YouTube TV, so I can't watch the games. But yeah, I mean, I am a Canes fan. Obviously, remember 2006, but it's been a great story to go through the playoff drought that they went through, and then they've become a playoff mainstay for 8 years, and they've just had I don't want to call it a curse, right? It's not. It's been 8 years.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's tough. They've been good every year, and they've come up short every year. And so I think there was a little bit of an exercising of demons. I think you think back to game 2 against Montreal, where that was a game that went to overtime. They very easily could have lost that, gone down 2-0, going to Montreal. They found a way to win that one, obviously. And there were some tight moments here. The last couple games ended up being mostly one-sided, but up until that point, I mean, the Canes were on the ropes. You think about game 2 in overtime. You think about the game 3. I mean, every game, right? Well, I shouldn't say every game. The first 4 games were coin flips. They were unbelievable games. I was kind of hoping it would be a 7-game series, to be honest. I felt it was that kind of series, but the Canes just took over the last couple, and obviously the guys who have been there for years and years. I mean, Jordan Stahl's been there, almost 15 years, it feels like at this point. So
at least,
16 years, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
'cause
feel like they'll be
he was
the
he
last
got here
one.
during the 2009-2010 season.
Yeah. Doesn't
No,
feel like it'll be their
no.
last
What
one,
what
right? Like, it feels like they're built to keep going.
yeah. Well,
I
shoot,
will
even,
say,
Vegas already came out with the 2027 odds, and, the
Yeah,
Hurricanes are
they're
already the
favored.
odds-on favorite, and
yeah,
with only having 3 free agents, heading into next season,
I didn't
combined
think it
with
was
having
that.
about $10.6 million.
What
Well,
I read
it's,
was only one restricted free agent and then like 14 or 15 million under the cap.
so basically it's Freddie Anderson and Nick
Okay.
Deslauriers, the guy that we got from Philly as a fill-in. They are unrestricted free agents, and then Alexander Nikishin is the restricted free agent you're talking about,
I
Greg.
mean, you could part with all
Um,
of those and still be
yeah,
fine.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You're feeling, and then like, but also too, like, what does Taylor Hall and Jordan Stahl do? You know,
I
do
mean,
they
I
go
think
out
you
on
run it
top?
back.
You know.
Nah, you run it back, man. Especially with
Mhm.
what you got coming back. Like, look, no, I make no bones. I'm a Lightning fan, but I was since my Bolts got knocked out early. Definitely, was repping them. I love the NC State tweets with Mr. Wolf, like obviously holding the cup and like that was
Mhm.
cool. Like, we went to the outdoor game that one time at when it was at Carter Finley. That was a blast.
That was
I,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy for the Canes. I really am. If and when we move down there, I might, I'm not going to give up my Bolts, but I might go to a couple more Canes games. I don't know if I would go in Canes
Okay.
gear. That might be a step too far, but
Ah,
no, I love hockey and I'm really happy for the city. Raleigh Durham is, no, I'm just kidding. It so annoys me when people call it Raleigh Durham.
oh yeah,
No, I'm happy for the city of Raleigh and then the Triangle region as a whole.
yeah. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, I do want to go ahead and move it here as we were planning to talk a little bit about this Brendan Sorsby Texas Tech conundrum here, but we actually just had some breaking news come in here as QB Brendan Sorsby and Texas Tech are mutually parting ways per
Well,
Pete Nako's reports. So Sorsby will not play college football in 2026. So
wow.
huge news here as we were obviously going to, talk a lot about the Brendan Sorsby news and the decision for him to be eligible and what does that mean for NCAA here. But I mean, Greg, you had obviously the facial and the audible reaction to it. I mean, how big of news is that? Yeah, then the fact
Well,
that Texas Tech and Sorsby made that decision apparently.
yeah, it's been all the talk for the last couple of weeks in college football. You've had everyone weighing in it on some form or fashion. You had Dion coming out and was like, "What are we even doing here?"
Mhm.
Um,
Finally, a voice
honestly,
of reason. There we go.
yeah, right. I never had Dion Sanders as the voice of reason on this topic, but he's 100% right. In any other sport, and you can go down the list, especially in baseball. There's the Black Sox of like what was it, 1909, 1912, something like that. Pete
Mhm.
Rose. You have basketball people that have done this. It's just unprecedented, and the mere fact that it got as far as it got, it was just is laughable. I mean, you thought the NCAA had no juice before. I mean, they literally got punked on this whole thing. I mean, just got punked.
Mhm. Yeah. Ethan, what about you?
Oh man, that
Where to
feels
start?
like the breaking news. That obviously I'm glad you caught that because otherwise I wouldn't have. But
Yeah.
it feels like to me like a PR move where it's like neither Texas Tech nor Sorsby want this to be the outcome, right? Texas Tech is already. I'm sure they haven't paid him $5 million, but I'm sure they paid him some of it. And they know if they're going to have a chance to win the national championship this year, they may not need him to win the Big 12, but they need him to win the national title. You need him out there. And that, any way you slice it, $5 million is a huge commitment. And so for that to either just go by the wayside to where, all right, that's gone now, or even if you get the $5 million back, you can't use it, right? Like it's June 15th, right? Like everybody's at their school. So it's
Mhm.
certainly like this is not the outcome they wanted, but somebody, either a voice of reason or a lawyer, Deion
I think it was
Sanders,
pressure.
maybe.
I think it was the
Pressure,
Big
yeah,
12. I
I think
mean,
that's
they were all
exactly what it was.
yeah, they were signing petitions and they did some legality stuff to kind of get more juice as a conference. It was just it was starting to mount up to where it probably wasn't going to go the way that Texas Tech wanted in the long run. So now you just cut bait when you still have chance to, get your guy in there, whoever that is. I don't even know who the backup is, but that guy just made money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well, especially too as well, building off because I even had some notes here about that 21-minute video that Texas Tech, the AD and the president came out with, and the president made some crazy remarks saying that the NCAA gambling policies predate mobile sports betting, which I'm like, I
that's
can
so weak.
promise you, as a former employee, as a farmer football equipment manager, these policies were shoved down your throats and were crystal clear. So it is there is no, oh, I didn't know. No, it's extremely crystal clear. And there's no second guess, there's no second chance. It's if you do it, you're out. Period. It's point blank centered here. But
And the
so
crazy
yeah,
thing
I mean
is
it definitely but like
the precedent's
go
been
ahead.
there. Like you got Division I athletes betting on like women's basketball at Iowa. Some kid did it like 4 or 5 years ago and lost the whole. He bet on one game and lost all of his eligibility.
Mhm.
One game, not even his own sport.
Yeah.
This dude bet on his team like almost 100 times. Just an incredible. Like
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't even.
no.
It makes no
Over
sense.
Yeah, over 9,000 bets totaling over $90,000 on sports over 4 years, more than 40 bets on Indiana football while he was on the team, but he never bet on games he played in, so that's the other interesting but even too, like one other example I could think of is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley bet like $6,000 and was suspended for an entire season, and, we're talking
In the
that's
NFL,
chump
but
change
still.
for Calvin Ridley. That's absolute chump change. But still, but it's like it's just but so again, like it just goes completely against every precedent that's ever been set ever. And if this was allowed, it would have been even more of the unraveling of the just how do you even describe just like the losing of the grip of the NCAA if this was to go. So yeah, I mean, I hate it for sure, especially because now Sorsby is going to be looked at as not like a full on, martyr of a story, but it's always gonna be like that story, that'll be forever remembered as like, this was when the tide could have easily moved one way or the other in a pretty significant way depending on how things had unfolded here. So, um, yeah, so again, just crazy stuff there with that. But with that being said, I do want to move forward here and talk about speaking of ethics and the right thing to do here. I'll let that transition to our next topic here around Will Wade, and I'll just say his name because it's we're we're getting into the nitty gritty here. But NC State uh, did not close the door completely in terms of taking legal action here against LSU and them basically farming and poaching Will Wade in terms of I guess coaching him about how to basically you know, how to save LSU some money here and purposefully making sure that he waited until the buyout dropped from $5 million to $3 million here. And I know there's been a lot of talks in terms of the reasoning behind it because basically NC State LSU talked. They basically agreed on a $4 million buyout, so it only dropped by $1 million here. And so there's been a lot of conversation around why would NC State do that? Why would NC State go through all this hassle? Why would they spend probably significant change from a legal perspective to get this done. And it's probably not going to be a quick process either if they truly continue to go down the route here. So why would they do that? And for me, a lot of it kind of is, I think, in my opinion, it's kind of the same boat as this whole Sorsby situation where it's like you got to set a precedent here. It's in my opinion, no university should be you know going to the extent of basically forcing and pushing Will Wade, whether and now keep in mind Will Wade's a grown man. He could do what he wants, but at the end of the day, a university should not be involved in terms of, you know, potentially going against contract here, to save money here. But I don't know. Like Greg, what's your thoughts here, man, in terms of why NC State would get involved in something like this?
I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons why you do this. You hold people accountable. I mean, there's a reason why you sign contracts, right?
Mhm.
It's a legal binding document, and um, I think I do think that there's definitely some smoke here. Just looking at the timelines and all of this, there's no everything that Will Wade has said, and we're not going to hash it all out here, but there's just no way that this happened over a 24 to 48-hour period that's been claimed. Um,
Mhm.
it's just not humanly possible to get all of that ironed out um, in that short of time frame. And I just think that I don't think that Boo Corrigan, if he's the one driving this ship and this decision, or if it's a higher being at the university, if it's, again, I don't know who's involved in all of this, but I just think that you want to just get what's rightfully deserved of yours. And I don't think that NC State as a whole brings this uh, suit or whatever we're calling this, because I don't know if it's formally, I think they're just investigating at this point. Is that a correct statement? Nothing legal has been
Yeah.
done.
So basically a little bit of background. So yeah, so basically the overwhelming the overhumping allegations basically NC State suspects LSU influenced
Right.
timing to save the $1 million on the buyout. And actually the full quote from NC State Vice Chancellor Allison Newhart said NC State has reason to suspect LSU may have influenced efforts to avoid or delay notice of LSU's recruitment of Wade and perhaps even the timing of his employment with LSU in order to avoid larger buyout fees. And
Yeah.
this all also too it chumps in as well to the fact that LSU requested from the
Yeah.
general counsel asking NC State to sign a waiver of legal action, and NC State refused. So
Like, why
that's
do
kind
you
of the
do
full
that if you
background.
don't think that there's something there, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, to me, it just seems suspicious there. The timing of everything, like I
Mhm.
said, I mean, they never even officially fired their coach. Like, it was just weird. Like, Wade comes in and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, I guess we don't need the other coach now because we have a head coach." Just I don't know, it was odd. What are you thinking over there, Ethan, about this?
I feel like this is a Captain Obvious type of thing,
I
right?
it does.
You know, um, and looking back, like, State was kind of in denial. It felt like there were a lot of fans in denial too, but looking back, it was obvious. I mean, there's absolutely no question that, whatever LSU was saying they didn't do here, they did. Um, and I'm sure we don't have the full story. Because to me, it just seems like, based off what was reported, the full story that we have was LSU sent a letter saying, "Hey, we didn't do this." So, like, if you do something wrong, do you just walk in the door and say, "Hey, I did
Right,
not do this"? Like, no,
right.
like,
Mhm.
you're asked about it. And so I'm sure that if NC State was looking to pursue, like, they didn't wait on LSU's letter to pursue that. So I'm sure they were already pursuing. But yeah, like, again, James did such a good job covering the story. He put something up. He was the only one that I know of that was like, "Hey, there's something, this is something to keep an eye on." And he put up a story. I mean, like, you're talking months in
I think
advance.
I think Joe Giglio had
And
some good stuff too, though, on this. I mean, I know
did he?
James was really good, but Joe G had some good stuff. It just again, like the whole timing of it. Apparently, he was still in contact with some former boosters.
He was
I'd
using the
even heard,
plane, right?
I heard that I had heard that as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, apparently he's had this booster in his pocket since like the VCU days, or
Well,
post
and
VCU. I can't remember exactly when.
there was talk that he had like his own money that was like independent of a university. I guess that's what he had at McNeese. And as I assume he brought that to NC State, and maybe that's the same thing that you're talking about. So there's certainly no
Mhm.
question that this was set up well in advance. Um, without getting into the weeds of it, like, I don't know that this was like, oh, Will Wade accepted this job knowing this was going to happen. I don't
Right.
necessarily agree with that, but I do think once LSU moved on from their athletic director, from firing Brian Kelly, which would have been November-ish,
November,
I
December
think that's
timeframe. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of when, I mean, football season ends Thanksgiving, right? So it was before that. I think that's probably when the
Mhm.
wheels started to get in motion. And yeah, like, I think if nothing had happened or been reported, I think they would have been content to wait until April 1st, I believe, which was when the buyout dropped. And I think that's probably State's goal here is to get the full $5 million. Now, my question is, do you just settle here, right? Like, does LSU just say, okay, fine, here's your $1 million? Because I don't know if you're NC State, if you're just looking for an extra $1 million, and I don't know, like I'm hardly a legal expert, but if you're just looking for an extra $1 million, how much is that going to cost you here? Like, are you really going to put out hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get the rest of the $1 million? Like, I don't know that necessarily makes sense to me. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I know some people like to accuse Boot Corrigan and the administration of just, sitting
Being
off to
asleep
the
at the wheel.
side and being asleep at the wheel. And look, if that's you and you think that, you should love this. You should be like, oh yeah, great, we're standing up for ourselves. So again, we'll kind of see how it plays out, but you got to give State some credit for that, I think.
So that also, like, you brought up a good point. Like, what is State looking after, right? Are they going, obviously they probably want some kind of monetary award, but are you just trying to tarnish, in a process as an extra benefit, kind of tarnishing Will Wade's name, because again, if there's something there, then obviously he was guilty of ethics. Again, nothing illegally by the law. I would say, like, this is all like a civil matter. But just that he was kind of like, to quote Denny Green, he is who we thought he was. And just kind of go from there. And if it is a monetary, like, do you get legal fees from them if you win? Again, are you just going after the $1 million? Because to your point, Ethan, if you go after $1 million, it just would make sense for LSU to pay the $1 million, right, and just move on with it
and be done with
no more. Yeah, no more bad publicity. That I think they've.
I kind of think that's what'll happen.
Yeah, I don't know what else you could go for. Like, again, North Carolina is interesting with the way that law is written. It's like there's some other things that you can go after, so it may not just be quote unquote that $1 million. So we'll have to see. I mean, again, nothing legal has been filed. That's the whole thing. Like right now, it's just in an investigative / discovery phase.
Right. Yeah, and just for in case anybody's curious what law Greg is referencing, he's talking about the North Carolina Unfair and Deceptive Trades Practices Act. And so, yeah, I guess more to come here. I do think it's a little bit of the money, sure, because I think that they have such a strong case where it's like, okay, I think it's worth there at least seeing if we can just get LSU just to bite to give us $1 million. But also too, I think as well, it's a little bit, I think, of a sticking it to LSU a little bit here of being like,
Like read between
making
the
it
lines.
clear, that read between the lines. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right here. So, but yeah, now more to come here on that, and we'll see what happens with it, but definitely an interesting story. Go ahead, Greg.
Are we all in agreement that we're glad that State is doing this, or do you think that State should have just walked away and just, been done with it and move on in the Gainey era? Like, kind of, I guess that's probably my biggest question. Like, are we doing the right thing here?
What do you think, Ethan?
I mean, if there's financial upside here, yeah. Like if you're going to spend $1 million to make $1 million, then I would say, what's the point? And I know some people have been like, oh, just move on, whatever. Like this is not Boo Corrigan. Like this is not now, baby. I'm sure Boo was like, has
Hey,
given
what can
his
we
2
do?
cents or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But like, this is not Boo Corrigan be like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going after Will Wade. Like, no. This is above Boo Corrigan for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
I can't remember the name of the lady who wrote that letter.
It was,
but
her name was like Allison something or another, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. Like I'm
Allison
sure
Newhart.
that
Allison Newhart.
okay, Allison Newhart. I'm sure that all the people at the top, like this went up to the very, very top of the university, and quite frankly, maybe even above them. Right. This may have been even like a state government type of thing. So I don't think this is anything, nothing to do with State's athletic department, but this isn't oh man, Boo Corrigan's sticking one to Will Wade. I don't think that's what this is. So from that perspective, yeah, like stand up for yourself.
I agree.
Sure. No, absolutely. So we'll wrap it up there with that topic here, and we'll move on over to our new segment that we haven't unveiled yet, which is called Report Card. All righty. So we are here with our new report card segment here. And what we're going to be doing is so far under the Chris Hart era in just a couple of weeks here, Coach Chris Hart's made some pretty big moves here in terms of kind of ironing out his coaching staff. Also, too, got 5 commits as well, too, in the transfer portal already here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Greg and Ethan here to give their grade, you know, standard, normal school, A plus, B minus, whatever grades, and then give a brief explanation of why they give that grade. So one thing I do want to ask is for everybody tuning in here, I want to hear your grades as well. So for each name that I put, if you can just put the name of the player or just even their you know initials. So so like the first one we'll start off with is Andrew Raymond, and then let us know what grade you would give this portal commit here. So yeah, so Greg, I'll start off with you. So Mississippi State transfer catcher Andrew Raymond, who was pursued by other SEC schools, but chose NC State, he said, because of the catcher development history that NC State very clearly has here. So what grade would you give for this move and this commit?
I'm gonna try to be fair, but be a homer at the same time. I think this is a B plus, A minus type deal. I think this is definitely an area of need. Was definitely the uncertainty of catcher. Preston Bond hasn't had a lot of playing time. Drew Lamphere does have 1 year of eligibility. So what does that look like? So there's definitely a need at the position. Showed a lot of upside. Was an all rookie in the A10 his freshman year. Did really well down at Mississippi State in his limited action. Showed a lot of potential. So yeah, I think this is a B plus, A minus type of grade.
What about you, Ethan?
Greg took the words out of my mouth. I had a B plus. And to me, like, it's tough because he didn't play at Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State's the type of team you're trying to be, right? Like, that's kind of the way I look at it. You're looking to, like, Mississippi State was the 14th overall seed this year. I think that's a appropriate goal, I would say, for NC. You expect to be in that host conversation. Obviously, not going to happen every year, but to me, that's kind of the concern. Now, if you had landed him out of George Mason, I think everybody would be pretty pumped. Now, it's interesting. He got a lot better at Mississippi State than he was at George Mason. Now, a lot of that was against Mississippi State's non-conference schedule, which wasn't particularly tough. They did have a tough weekend. He didn't really play in the SEC. I believe it was 13 at bats. So I there's a little bit of like an unknown there, right? Like he got better. But and I talked about it on the Patreon, like defensively he got better. That's the improvement I'm most interested in. But yeah, like I think offensively what he gave you from the catcher position, you don't have a ton of expectations there. So I think you'd be pumped with that, what he gave you at George Mason or what he gave you at Mississippi State. And so if those defensive strides that he made at Mississippi State took carry over to NC State, and what I think, Greg, what you and I both expect to be a full-time role, yeah, like I think you'd be really, really excited. If not, the conversation changes a little bit. So that's where I'm at a B plus.
Yeah. So I'll move to the other batter fielder commit that we got in Hunter Warren from Wright State. I know we maybe for this one in particular, I think Greg that this was your guy. It seemed like from last week when we mentioned Hunter Warren's name, but a 328 batting average went up to almost even a 350 even last year batting average. Horizon League Freshman of the Year, 856 OPS versus Tennessee and Georgia. A roommate with Chet Lax, who will be next up here. But what grade would you give Hunter Warren?
You want to go? You want to go first, Ethan? Since I went first last time.
Yeah, for me, Hunter Warren is he's an A for me. Like I think I know what I'm getting, right? I'm plugging him right into the second base spot. Offensively, I feel good about what I'm getting. A guy who produced against Georgia and Tennessee. And I think there's upside there too, right? Like I think offensively, I think you can see a step forward in the power department, even from the 8 home runs that he hit last year at Wright State. Like that's a good number. Could it be even a better number next year? So Doesn't strike out, right? Walks a ton. Not a ton, but walks. And he's been really, really good offensively. It's easy to compare him to Luke Nixon, right? Because that's who he's replacing. Offensively, he's been better. Like if you look at year one Hunter Warren versus year one Luke Nixon, year two Hunter Warren versus year two Luke Nixon, Warren's been better in both of those seasons. Now we know what Luke Nixon did in year three when he was NC State's best hitter. Does Hunter Warren have that jump in him? To me, that's the question. Defensively, I don't expect him to be as he doesn't grade out as well as Luke, I should say. But either way, like you're talking about a very, very high floor here. And so, yeah, plug and play, like could end up being a top of the order guy. And if he ends up hitting fifth, sixth for you, I think, that means you have a loaded lineup. So yeah, for me, I have Hunter Warren at an A.
Yeah, I have him in an F if he tries to bunt more than 20 times.
Yes.
That was for you, Ethan. That was for you, buddy.
But is that him or is that the coaches?
Right. Yeah, I'm here exactly with Ethan as well. I have him as an A minus type guy. He's talking with Chet the other day, and if you haven't checked that interview out, I had a really good time talking with him. He's really pumped that Hunter's coming along with them. They're roommates, and he had nothing but glowing reviews. And I definitely trust a guy that's in the trenches with his boy, and that he agreed with you, Ethan. I don't know if you saw the interview, but he thinks that there's some untapped potential there for power numbers. And if he taps into, if he gives you 4 to 5 extras, I mean, this is pardon the pun, it's a home run, guy. He's really good with his glove, really solid. Obviously big shoes to fill with, Luke Nixon moving on. But again, just another area of need where Chris Hart and crew has gotten probably really good value at this slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll move on here to his former roommate in Chet Lax.
Probably still going to be roommate. They're boys.
Still probably be roommate. That's true. That's true. Still probably roommate. Left-handed pitcher, also out of Wright State. Had a 9.1 record, 4.23 ERA. Highlighted also too, Greg, you had mentioned his interview. If you haven't already checked that on our YouTube channel, make sure to go and check that out. But had 7 shutout innings versus Tennessee in a 6-0 win. Only gave up 1 run in 4 innings versus Georgia, first team All Horizon League. Cape Cod League, he's competing with here too. So again, a lot of experience here and a lot of ability showing, a high upside against high level competition. So, Greg, what grade would you give this one?
Yeah, I think he's I tried to be like kind of like
not the homer,
but he gives you, like, Ethan, you and I have talked about this. At worst, he's going to be probably your Sunday starter. That's kind of what he was this past year at Wright State, but could move into a Saturday slot depending on what else you bring in. Has 3 good pitches, has a really good changeup. He's a guy that's trying to get a little bit stronger, to get a little bit more velo on his fastball. If he gets that, he could be really dangerous. Again, did his best work against SEC opponents, struggled a little bit in play. He even admitted to some of that in the interview, but I think this is a really good, he's coming in, like he's in the interview, he said he's going to come in and compete for a starting role. But he's a team first guy. Like, he's definitely said all the right things, just carried himself really well. So I think he's going to be acclimated and fitting in really well with the squad.
Yeah, this is where, to me, it gets complicated, because with hitters, right, we know where they're going to slot in. We have a pretty good idea of how much they're going to play. We don't know that with Chet Lax and Jesse Gutierrez, who we'll get to. So for me, like you talked about it, if you're talking about Chet Lax as a Sunday guy, or even competing with Jesse Gutierrez for the Sunday spot, okay, I feel really good about that. Now, if you're saying, hey, Chet Lax, you're our Saturday guy, we don't have any other options behind you. Okay, now I've got some concerns, right? And not that there's nobody else behind you, but
that's not a concern on Chet. That's a concern on the staff.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it just kind of depends on what role he slides into. I do think they'll add, if not, I would like for them, if I'm being picky, I would like for them to add, a higher end guy who can clearly be a number two behind Nance. I don't know that there's clearly a number two. If that doesn't happen, I do expect at minimum to add a guy comparable to Gutierrez and comparable to Lax, who's like, okay, this guy can start for us, he can relieve for us, he's got a track record. Like we feel like he's pretty safe. He can be helpful. That gives you three guys for two spots, I think, on the weekends. And so for me, like I'll leave it at a B for now. But again, that can kind of go either way. Like if Chet Lax is your Sunday guy, it's an A. If he's your Saturday guy, it's like a C plus, I think. Not to say he can't be good as a Saturday guy. He can, but there's risk there, right? And we know injuries are going to happen. So, you've got to go into the year with 4 weekend starters essentially. And so you're right, Greg, like that's not a reflection on Chet Lax. So if you're grading the rotation as a whole, like to me, that's probably where there's still question. But yeah, I like Chet Lax. I'd probably go like C plus B minus. I'll go B minus for now until again you see the rest of the roster fill out.
I also think real quick, if we can, close the loop on him, he came in this year as their fourth starter and, kind of was forced into that role to be the Sunday guy. And maybe he wasn't quite, I won't say ready or prepared, but, he wasn't slotted there. And so for him to kind of have to step up, I think he did a really nice job, considering, where he anticipated to be. And that can only help him in his development. And so hopefully, again, as we talk about these guys coming in, that they take the next step in their development.
Yeah, and the next guy that Ethan already mentioned here, and Jesse Gutierrez, spent the last 4 years at San Jose State. Last year had a 1-4 record, 6.55 ERA. Started a career high 10 games, and unfortunately had to go through a Tommy John surgery, and so he'll be recovering from that here.
No, other way
But
around. Other way around.
other way around, what way?
He was coming back from Tommy John surgery last year.
Oh, last year. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So still though, I mean, definitely coming to NC State looking for, I think, for a fresh start here. So Ethan, I do want to ask you before you give your grade here, do you think that a move like this from a San Jose State to an NC State, especially looking at, limited experience at San Jose State here, do you see this as a depth filler, a bullpen depth filler here, and maybe even just like moving up a level, going to experience, the difference between NC State and San Jose State?
No, I think Gutierrez is the guy who's slotted to start.
Let's go.
And like, is it a weekend? Maybe not. Like maybe it ends up being a midweek, but I mean, he's thrown 154 innings in his career. Like you mentioned, Greg, 2025 he got hurt. He threw 26 innings before he got hurt. And then this year he came back to throw 45, threw 53 out of the bullpen in 2024. That's a lot of innings. That's like Anderson Nance territory. That is a lot of innings. And so not like even if he's in the bullpen, which again, I think he will start, even if he's in the bullpen, like it's still going to be a big piece of your bullpen, throwing important innings. Probably will get starts throughout the year at minimum. Again, right now he's your Sunday guy. And so I think he's probably coming from a better conference than Lax, to be honest. I believe they're in the Mountain West, but the Horizon League is not good, right? Your Wright State is, and so how do you balance that? So, no, I think Gutierrez is slated for a big role. Absolutely, coming back from injury. I broke it down on the Patreon. He got much better as the season went along, and he kind of found his own old form by the time May rolled around, and so you factor in if hopefully he's healthy this offseason and you get him ready to go. Like I think this is a guy who could have a good year for NC State.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I was talking with my buddy Win Scott. They were teammates out in San Jose State. For those that don't really follow San Jose State, which wouldn't expect people as NC State fans, but Josh Pike is their head coach out there, a former state pitcher, and had really good things. Again, 2 instances now of getting recruits from former NC State players, so you can get some really good information on that. But Wynn was telling me that if he comes out of the bullpen, expect low to 92, 93, somewhere around there. But if he's going to be a starter, he'll probably hang around 89 to 91. Again, just so where he slots, just a guy. Ethan, you broke it down nicely over his last couple of starts. He started to regain that old form, and if he continues that trajectory up, this could be a B+ kind of guy. Now I'm going to leave him as a B. Again, just not knowing where he's going to end up slotting because we're still early in the process. I would expect State to get probably another 3 to 5 arms at minimum. I think we lost over 250, 260 innings this past year that isn't coming back. So there's a lot to replace. But yeah, I think this is again, if you bring other guys around him, I think this can help elevate because then you now find roles for these guys that might be better suited for their talent.
Yeah. And then the last player that we'll highlight before we move to the big coaching get is McCall Biemiller from Florida, and he's coming in as a I think either a redshirt sophomore. I think probably redshirt sophomore is he'll be coming in as. But 2025 came in as a freshman, had a 5.93 ERA over 11 appearances. But then last year only saw 1 appearance and didn't even record any innings pitched at all. So I guess didn't even finish the out. Greg, what's your breakdown in terms of McCall and where he might slide in, and what grade would you give this move?
Yeah, this is going to sound funny, but if we're really giving grades here, I'm going to give him an incomplete. There's just not a lot out there, a lot of data points. A guy that was, fairly ranked in the state of Florida coming out of it. He was Vincent DiCarlo's battery mate in high school at Jesuit High School there in Tampa. Just for, fun fact there, but just not a lot there. Interesting that he really didn't throw this past year. All appearances are that he wasn't injured. But as we get into the next, part of the show, we're going to talk about Taylor Black, and he was a coach there at Florida. I'm sure he's coming in on a recommendation from Coach Black. But yeah, just for me, just not a lot of data points there. Maybe Ethan has something better and maybe can actually give him a grade, but that's just kind of where I'm at.
No, I don't have a ton either. I mean, you mentioned it. He's thrown 13 innings in his career, right? So there's just not a ton to really take away. 3 good innings, and all of a sudden his career numbers look much differently, one way or the other. I would go C here. I don't have a ton of expectation for role. That's why, right? Greg, I think I told you, kind of reminiscent of PJ Labriola, but
Yeah.
PJ Labriola transferred
yeah.
in. Yeah, like he threw more at Clemson, but the stuff was there, right? Like when you saw PJ Labriola, you were like, okay, like there's real stuff here. And that's going to be the case with Biemiller. You don't go to Florida. I think he was the top 300 guy, top 400 guy. You don't go to Florida if you're, especially as a pitcher, if you don't have great stuff. And so he's going to have great stuff. I just, again, didn't really throw at Florida. I can't really have any expectations for him. I think, Tristan Potts goes in the portal. Maybe that's the kind of role where you look at starting out in and then kind of go from there. But I just don't. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up throwing like 5 innings for you next year, So, and if that's the case, no harm, no foul, right? Like somebody's got to be the guy on the team who throws 5 innings. That sucks.
That was Tristan Potts.
Yeah, right.
I think he had a little bit more than that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I think McCall really is truly the definition of an upside get. Just
yeah,
take a flyer.
Take the flyer.
You're not expecting anything with him, right? Like with Lax and with Gutierrez, you're expecting them, right? Like if it doesn't go well, you're going to be in trouble. With Biemiller, that's not really the case. I don't think you're going to build your bullpen or your group of arms expecting much from Biemiller.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. So the last name, which I think Ethan, you'd mentioned Taylor Black coming over from Florida, was with the team with at NC State from 2014 to 2017. Also has experience as a Detroit Tigers pro scout. Spent the last couple years with Florida and will return as NC State's recruiting coordinator. So, Ethan, before you give a grade for this, my question for this is, why do you think that he decided to come back to NC State?
I think it's a promotion for him. I believe it hasn't been announced by the school, so I don't know if we know for sure if he's the associate head coach or not, but I believe that's what's happening, Greg. I don't know if you have any insight on that, but
I don't.
yeah. So once they announce it, we'll obviously know for sure. I know we'd heard Clint Chrysler's name thrown around as a potential associate head coach possibility. So one of those two guys. But I think he just was a little bit further down the pecking order in terms of the coaching staff at Florida, and so I think that's why, right? He's getting a maybe I'm guessing it's a raise, maybe it's not, but it's a better title. And so I think it's him being one step closer to being a head coach, which I'm guessing is his goal. And from my understanding, he's stepping right into the job that Chris Hart did. So, we had some debate of, well, do you just promote Bo Robinson and then you promote JT Jarrett? It doesn't sound like that's happening. It sounds like they're getting Taylor Black and keeping Bo Robinson and JT Jarrett where they're at, which is, I mean, that's a big win, right? Like Bo Robinson is very, very well regarded for the work he does. And so to keep him without necessarily giving him a raise, I think that's great. You had Taylor Black in. So yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, did you give a grade for that, Ethan?
Grade. Yeah, I would go A- here. I think this is something to be really excited about. There were some big names thrown around as possibilities here. And so you landed Taylor Black. I know there was some Alex Sogard talk. I'm sure some people would have been more excited by Alex Sogard, but I don't necessarily think that means Sogard would be better than Black. I just think that would be a little more of a flashier hire. So for me, it's an A-. The work he did at Florida, the work they were able to do in the portal. Again, the question is always, is it him or was it Florida? Like how do you balance that? So, but for me, I think this is one to be really excited about. Yeah, A-.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. A-. Just, one of the things that you didn't mention in your little write up there, he did help Florida reach 2 College World Series in his time there. Key recruiter and getting a lot of those guys. Obviously, in 24 they beat State in extra innings. Familiar with the Raleigh area, I think. Layton or Ethan was kind of alluding to it. Being a recruiter in the state of Florida is massive. That's one of the areas where Chris Hart really excelled in that same role. The Florida pipeline has been so good for the Pac over the last 15 years, I'd say. And if you can keep that coming, I mean, you look at the 30th ranked guy in Florida, he's probably top 10, 15 in North Carolina. Like it's just, when you see those rankings, it hits different, when you're pulling a guy from Florida. Just a really good hire, I think, just to kind of like solidify this staff. And I think, again, the problems haven't been at State, hasn't been recruiting. It's just been some of the player development, maybe along the pitching lines, maybe some in-game decisions, but the talent's been there for many, many years. You don't make 2 trips to Omaha in the last 6 years by accident.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Had my microphone pressed in, but yeah. So that wraps up Wolfpack Nation, our report card segment. Again, it was breaking down the grades and the thoughts on the 5 current commits that we have at this time, plus also to the news of Taylor Black too as well. But with that being said, let's move on over to some tweets of the week. Big thanks to our sponsor, Alpha Wolf CPR Trainings, because obviously for us, Wolfpack Nation, if you ever are asking the question to yourself, what can I do to help, my business or my school or my church or my team, organization, you name it, or even my family, Alpha Wolf CPR trainings make it so easy to learn and be certified for to do CPR as they bring the training directly to you. Alpha Wolf CPR Trainings is an American Red Cross licensed training provider offering adult and pediatric first aid, CPR, and AED certification courses. Whether you prefer hybrid learning or a fully instructor led class, they customize the training to fit your group's needs, including adult only or pediatric only certifications. With successful completion, participants receive an official American Red Cross certification, valid for 2 years and meeting OSHA standards. Convenient, professional, and tailored to your schedule, Alpha Wolf CPR trainings helps you stay prepared when every second matters. To learn more and schedule your class day, visit alphawolfcpr.square.site today. So, jumping into it here, our first tweet of the week here, talking about the 6'10 sophomore forward, JUCO transfer here that is currently on an official visit to NC State here. So, Ethan, I want to ask you the question here first, man. What's the idea here? Is it, I mean, obviously, probably, depth at the 5 spot here, but, another 6'10 forward here, would you say in your opinion, this would be if Shah did commit to State, do you think this would be the final piece of the puzzle for Justin Gainey's 2026-2027 roster?
No, I think you still have more scholarships to give out, right? I think you can go up to 15.
Mm,
I wanna say off the top of my head, they're at 11 right now.
okay.
I don't I'd need to be fact checked on that, so that may not be completely accurate. So, I think you still need a few bodies, but in terms of, like, the 2 deep, yeah, probably. Um, and I look at it like, yeah, I do view this as a depth piece. You don't have a backup 5, right? Like, you have, you expect Evans and, I'm blanking on the kid's name from Washington State, but you have those 2 guys, and you have, Yurkovich, you have, Mikey Wilkins. To me, I think there's a lot of unknown there. And so, yeah, you still need a backup 5. They're on Oporum, the kid from Auburn. We'll see. I'm guessing it's one of those 2 guys, right? Like, it's which of these 2 guys can we get? So I don't think that would be it. I do think you're looking for somebody who can come in and help you, not necessarily play a ton of minutes, but at the same time, sometimes you get surprised in a good way,
Mhm,
and guys end up being better than expected. So I look at this as State still needs a backup 5, right? Like, if you were filling out a 2 deep, you wouldn't have a backup 5 unless you think it's Wilkins, which I don't know. I don't know that this staff views him as a 5.
mhm,
So that's the way I see it. You still need somebody. So, and then I still think, again, after this, you still probably need a couple of bodies. Again, wouldn't expect any big names or anything like that.
mhm. Yeah. Well, and before Greg, get your thoughts on it too as well. If Hall does commit to NC State, I know our man Ethan will definitely be breaking down his stats and giving you his opinions and thoughts in terms of where Hall will be placed in our Patreon. So again, if you have $5 to spend a month, which again is less than the price of a cup of coffee these days, y'all, go to the top of our description. There's a link there. Go join our Patreon today as you get 3 different videos a week breaking down stats, you name it, and also too as well get some insight too as well into what we're hearing throughout in state athletics too as well. So again, only $5 a month. Make sure to go and join by clicking the link in the description here today. But Greg, yeah. So what are your thoughts here in terms of the true possibility, but also to where Hall would place in, and how big of a get truly would this be? Would this be a season altering, or is it it's like a season outlook altering move, or like how much would this move the needle for you?
Excuse me. For me personally, it probably wouldn't move it a whole lot. Um, it's getting a little bit late in the portal process. JUCO guy, doesn't really scream off the page like a must get. Now, state does need, this is an area of need, as Ethan alluded to, and I think this is does like it helps, right? And I think this is a again low risk, high reward kind of guy, a guy that you're not going to have to invest a lot in, probably in the NIL. He did have a visit with Arkansas, so obviously he's not just some rando. That he's not just being recruited as a a courtesy kind of thing, you know. So I think there is some stuff there. He'll be a sophomore, so he probably projects as a little bit of a quote unquote project. But again, someone you bring in here as a depth piece, and then see kind of how he plays out.
Yeah. Well, and to give a little bit of stats too as well for his season last year at Shelton State, had averaged 9.4 points a game, 7.8 rebounds per game, 2.2 blocks per game, and 65.1% shooting from the field. So definitely gives a lot of obviously defensive instinct screaming off the page there with 7.8 rebounds and 2.2 blocks per game here. So I mean, I think it's definitely not a fire and ice approach between Evans and Hall. I think they're, very similar, it seems, in terms of playing style. So, which I don't know, like Ethan, do you think that's a good thing, or do you think it's honestly better to have more of a fire and ice? Because in my opinion, it's great because you can kind of swing both ways. But with Hall, which I think is more of a compliment to Evans, truly, like it's not a who's going to start. It would be truly Evans would be the 1A and Hall would be the 1B here. I think it's honestly a good thing that in terms of playing styles, it seems like there wouldn't be much of a difference, for Edmond and the guys that are playing that, well, I got to change up how I play depending on whether Hall or Evans is on the court.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to me, the way I look at it is the way the rest of the roster is built. And I don't know that you really want to be changing a whole lot when you've got the other four guys that you're starting or projecting to start, I should say. All of them lean offense. And so, yeah, if you're bringing in a 5 off the bench, yeah, you want that guy to lean defense like Kyle Evans does. I don't know how much stock to put in Hall stats. Like at the JUCO level, I don't know. Like I it's just hard to take a lot away from there, right? I think this is strictly an
Competition is
eval.
much different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Like it's an eval. Okay, how does he look? What do we know about him? Do we know somebody who's seen him? Things like that. So yeah, to me, I don't even think we might be at a point where Jurkovic or Wilkins could be more likely to be the backup 5 than Hall. Again, maybe you get Oporum. I think Oporum's probably State's preference. I mean, they
Probably.
recruited him first, right? So
Well, not only that, he's a
I
P4
don't
guy,
know.
right? Like
Yeah,
his skill set's probably a
it's
little
an
bit better.
easier eval. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know how much stock you really put in Hall, and even if State were to land him, like okay, great. Like again, you need a third big, right? Like you've got 15 scholarships, you may as well use them.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Do
So
we know
moving
where
on
we
to
stand on the kid from Auburn? Like, I mean, that well is kind of seemed like it's dried up. Like
I
it just
don't. I
went
think that
cold.
is a yeah. I think they've got to work some other stuff out. I don't think that's a question of whether or not he wants to come. I think it's more so.
You think it's a money thing?
No, I don't think it's a money thing. I think it's there's some eyes that need to be dotted. What's the saying? Dot
Eyes
your
that
I's and
dotted
cross your
T.
T's.
Yeah.
They've got to do that, and I think it's a question as to whether or not it'll actually happen, just based on the fact that they're still
Is
recruiting
it?
other guys.
Yeah. You thinking like academic wise, just to make sure that he qualifies and gets in and things transfer?
I
Is
think that
that
may be part of it. Yeah, I
yeah?
think that may be part of it.
It's fair.
Mm, yeah. So moving on here to our next tweet of the week here, got to give a shout out to in-state football getting 2 more commits over this past week here in 3-star offensive lineman Jacob Burns and then defensive lineman Amir Moore. Looking at Burns here, a 3-star recruit, the number 55 overall offensive tackle per 24/7. Had offers from NC State, Virginia Tech, UNC, Alabama, Arkansas, and then Amir Moore, 3-star defensive lineman based out of Harrods, North Carolina. So North Carolina guy. The number 37 overall recruit within the state had offers from NC State, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Michigan State. So, I mean, what really screams there is, I mean, these were no Joe Schmo commits. There was definitely a lot of big fish at the table here for both of these guys. And, they always say that the line's what eats in terms of determining a win or a loss a lot of times on in a football game. And so getting 2 commits, specifically for 2 coaches, I think that have a lot of experience with development here, you know, you got to feel a lot of excitement for sure in that, like we were talking about last week, that these are guys that you can bring in and develop, and scream to be guys that are willing to go through the process here. But Greg, what's your initial thoughts here? Would you say that you're more excited right now for Burns or more in terms of upside?
Well, first off, Moore wearing a number 23 as a defensive lineman's pretty weird. That's I I don't know. Like, I
Hey,
didn't know they made 23s that big, to be honest with you. Um,
yep.
I trust everything. Like, 2J has a really good record on the offensive line. I mean, we're talking consecutive weeks with consecutive commits. Um, the games are won in the trenches on either side of the ball. You can never have too much there. For me, again, it's hard for me to get excited about some of these guys that, like, doesn't scream off the page, like, okay, but with time and space and the ability to develop, these guys could be some guys. But again, for me, it's really hard to get excited. No offense to anyone that's a 3-star. I was never, in that, it didn't have that ability to be ranked or rated or anything like that when I played high school sports. So not to take anything away from it, but again, these are just guys that are committing. I'm excited for that aspect of it, but I think none of these guys are coming in and being day one starters.
No. Yeah. Ethan, any additional thoughts adding on to what Greg said?
I wouldn't even apply that to just 3-stars. I'd apply it to everybody. It's hard, especially if you have an open spot now. You use the portal, right? And so for freshmen, for redshirt freshmen, for young guys to get on the field, you've got to either outplay somebody during fall camp or you need an injury. And it kind of sucks that that's the way it is. But with the portal now, it's just harder and harder as a true freshman to get on the field. So I think both of those guys are interesting gets. Like Layton, you talked about their offers, their measurables, like they check boxes for you for sure. And those are the guys you kind of want to bring in. You mentioned Tuesday. It feels like every week you're talking about, man, he landed another guy. He landed another guy. So that definitely stands out. Amir Moore, obviously big offer list. So again, like you said, it's tough. It's tough to get on the field, but
and that's the crappy part too, right? Like, just going after these these prep kids, like it's part of the game. You have to take them, but it's almost like, man, you don't want to take like guys that have like potential, right? Because if they don't get in and start, I mean, I guess you don't. But
how many do you have to take?
Yeah, no, you're right. You don't have to take any, but we also know that you shouldn't be going, strictly after the portal guys.
I do think I agree with you. You have to take some. I think the question is, you see a lot of schools taking 25, 30, and there's no rules, right? Like you can cut guys, with no repercussion. And by cutting, you're just forcing them back into the portal, so you don't look like the bad guy. But do you need to take 25, 30? Like, can you just take 15 to 20? To me, like that would kind of be where I'd be. But again, scholarship rules have changed. It's not 85 anymore, right? I think it's 110.
Right, it's 105, 110, something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah,
but there's really no walk-ons, right? So you need guys to fill out your roster. To your point.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough. Like you got to invest in these guys, and to me, this is where you land stars. This is how you land like your potential star players if you're NC State. We talked about this in baseball. It's hard to land star players out of the portal. It really is, especially if you're NC State. You've got to find your star players through the high school ranks. You look at Kevin
and make them a priority, though, too, right? Just because you're on the roster not playing, you can still make them a priority.
Yeah. You're cheaper that way, right? Your star players can be cheaper. You find your depth that way. You don't want to have to be recruiting depth out of the portal. I don't think you want to have to do that. And so to keep the foundation of your program, I do think you're sturdier that way, where we've seen teams. Yeah, you can put up an 11-1 season with the portal. You can also turn around and go 4-8. And if you're
looking into Florida State,
Michigan State, Mel Tucker signed a $70 million contract and got fired like the next year because of the portal.
Wasn't there some other things with him too, though?
Yeah, there were. Yeah.
But no, I get you.
They're also just looking for an idea for a way to get out of that contract.
Correct. Correct. But I think to the point that, like, you get 5 games in a bowl game, right? to maintain your eligibility. You could sneak them in when you're playing a Richmond, if they show some potential, and kind of just keep that carrot dangling in front of them to let them know that, hey, you may not be getting a lot of playing time this year, but you are our future. There's ways to make it happen to keep these guys around, and you can give them NIL next year. Like maybe they're getting small chump change, maybe $10,000-$15,000. Next year you maybe upped it to 75,000, 80,000, whatever. There's ways to do it and prioritize guys.
Yeah. So again, right now NC State's football sits at number 40 overall recruiting class with 15 commits. So we'll see in terms of how much bigger this class builds out. But as of right now, NC State has 4 offensive linemen committed as a part of this class. So it's pretty obvious that is definitely a priority for Coach 2J and for Coach Dorn here in this recruiting class here. So
let's be real though, you're probably going to lose a couple of these guys. Like it happens every year. Not that we want it to, but someone's going to come in and lose a commit, and then it's going to be a domino effect. But yeah, you hope they all make it to campus.
Listen, it really is kind of a point of it's really twofold here in terms of why we still talk about these commitments as much as we do. First and foremost is the fact I think that we're just hardwired from the years and years we followed the sport of that a commitment is something we celebrate, period. But then number 2 is the fact of we do want to give, guys like Burns, guys like Moore love, and, definitely welcome, make them feel welcome, make them feel like, definitely that we're excited to have them committed, but with the full understanding that there's definitely a very, there is a percent possibility that they still might not sign with NC State. And even if they sign with NC State, that they may not be here within a year from now. It's just the unfortunate days that we're in here. But, yeah, it's a hope and a prayer that, we could ever get back to what commitment used to mean. So, but with that being said, I do want to have a little bit of fun here with you, Greg, specifically here. And I want to merge our tweets of the week and our grind my gear segment here together. So here, I'm going to throw up the stinger here, but we're going to keep it here at tweets of the week as I got one in particular I want to show for everybody here.
You know what really grinds my gears?
And that is this On 3 ACC power rank that came out via Andy Staples here. So, Greg, I only want to spend just 2 minutes here on this here. Again, we'll have plenty of time here to talk about football here. But on this power rankings list, you got Miami number 1, SMU number 2. Again, it's all power rankings. It's all just clickbait. It's all just fun stuff here. But hey, listen, I always love talking a little bit of football. I mean, hey, we're only a couple months away here from football getting started here. NC State is put here as number 10, so really middle of the pack here for in terms of the ACC or so just give me, Greg, like what's the one thing that really grinds your gears the most in terms of this list?
This graphic as a whole, that's what grind my gears. I think State at 10 is a little disrespectful, but I mean, we've got some good skill players. I just, again, I don't know what this defense is going to look like. I think that's my biggest question. You bring in back a few pieces. You brought in a couple of nice portal pieces at linebacker. I think Duke is way too high. I think Virginia Tech's probably a year away from being that number. Wake Forest and Cal. I honestly, I think State should be around 7 or 8, maybe even high as 6. But if I'm being a little conservative, I say 7 or 8, truly in the middle of the pack, not on the backside of the middle. That would be where I'm at. I just think our skill players are going to be really good. As long as this defense doesn't give up 30 points plus a game, I think we're going to win some ball games.
Yeah. And Ethan, I want to get your thoughts on this real quick, but 2 questions to you. One, does Andy Staples know that Mensah is not playing for Duke anymore? Then number 2, how this I think UNC at number 15 is still way too high.
Too high?
Yeah, UNC at 15 is way too high.
That's kind of mean. You're gonna drop them 2 spots?
Hey, listen. I don't know what to tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you can nitpick some of the stuff. I don't know, like a spot or 2, I guess, for me. Georgia Tech being low sticks out. So does Florida State. I mean, if you read what some of the Florida State people have said, they basically said Florida State's just punting on this year. They just couldn't afford the buyout. for Mike Norvell, and they're just like, we just got to eat it this year.
And they didn't
I
want to
still
put any
feel like
money into NIL either.
into the roster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still feel like they'll be better than that. And I like feels like Georgia Tech probably should be better than 12th too. Probably throw Pittsburgh in there. High on Cal, but to me, I think that's love for JKS, their
Yeah,
quarterback.
that quarterback's really good.
Yeah, Wake Forest seems high.
But I think he's
Virginia,
basing this off of a 9-win season from last year. I think that's why
Yeah.
why he's putting them there.
Yeah, and it was a fluky 9-win season. I think the media really likes Jake Dickert, so I think that is helping them out, Wake Forest, in this spot. To me, the team that's too high is Virginia. I think Virginia last year was smoke and mirrors, for lack of a better word.
Quarterback play was really good. I don't know if their quarterback's going to be as good as they were last year.
And they won a ton of very close toss-up-y type games that easily could have gone the other way. Is that going to happen again? I don't think so. I mean, if you're finishing third, you're winning 10 games, right? So to me, that's the team that stands out as, okay, this team is 3, 4, 5 spots. Duke probably as well. I actually think that's a good spot for Clemson. I think it's a little bit of a hedge. You're still betting on the high school talent, but you're also saying these guys aren't using the portal. You have no idea what they have at quarterback. There's a very possible chance that, they win 7 games. So
I mean, they're going to play good defense. That's what Clemson always does.
They're going to play good defense. Yeah. I think I think it's a solid hedge spot for Clemson. Duke, yeah. We'll talk about more Duke later on in the segment, but I don't know. I don't really think the list is that bad. We can nitpick a little bit, but I don't think it's as bad as Greg thinks.
Well, I'll be fair. I haven't analyzed other teams' schedules, so like if you get some of the crappier teams, you can really, again, I don't know how much he did this. And I like Andy Staples. Like I used to listen to him all the time on XM radio when he was on the college network, and I think he's pretty good. But some of this just seems, I don't know. Again, looking at the schedule it can totally flip my decisions on some of this. But I also know like State does have it a little bit on the easier side as far as ACC schedules go. So that's why I thought maybe we could put them a little bit higher. And again, we'll talk about that as the summer goes on. But I'm sure one or two of these teams have some gauntlets that they have to go through. But we'll get there. I think 1 and 2 are pretty fair though.
Yeah. My quick my quick 30-second thought, but for those who are listening here, so for the rankings, they had Miami number 1, SMU number 2, Virginia number 3, Louisville 4, Clemson 5, Duke 6, Virginia Tech 7, Cal 8, Wake Forest 9, and State 10, and then had Georgia Tech 12 and Florida State 13. But yeah, what's that?
Oh, you just skipped over Pitt at 11. That's all.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to highlight the ones that we had mentioned.
No respect.
Yeah, we had mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, and Pitt's always like fighting. I mean, it always seems that every year they're in the conversation. I know, Layton, this was your 30 seconds, so I'll yield. But
no, well, here's my thing, and so Clemson, Dabo Swinney, yes, Dabo Swinney has not been the Dabo Swinney of the previous 15 years, and but that's a whole nother conversation. But so 5, I get it. And he's still an amazing elite coach, in my opinion. So sure, Clemson number 5, I get that. But Virginia Tech at 7, honestly, is the thing for me, because that is just yes, it's James Franklin. Yes, they have a lot of money in that program, but it's still
But that's a bump. That's a James Franklin bump right there at 7.
No, that's a total. Honestly, I would flip NC State, Virginia Tech. Honestly, if this were my list, I think NC State has more proven pieces that have been playing together. You know what Doran's going to give you. You know that CJ is a top end talent. That alone. And but again, with Virginia Tech, it's just like, we'll see. Like after week 1, they could easily shoot up 6 spots, or they could shoot down 6 spots. It's really just so like I put Virginia Tech in my middle, which is around 10 in my opinion. So
I mean, but real quick,
go ahead.
By all accounts and probably consensus, number 2, number 3 quarterback in the league behind Mensa, like you saying the rest of NC State is that bad where a quarterback
Right.
can't make up the difference? Like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that just seems, I don't know. And if you're saying 1 and 2, there's just such a gap, and that's how you came to that conclusion. I don't know. I would question it somewhat.
Yep. So, 2 more quick tweets here but to wrap this thing up. First and foremost, here, got to give a shout out to our man Ty Head for being named a finalist for the 2026 ABCA Rawlings Sports NCAA Division I Gold Glove, recognizing the nation's premier defensive standouts every position. Because, man, I know, Greg, you saw many of these in person, but he made some Sports Center top 10 highlight worthy catches all season long, man. He was impressive to say the least here.
Yeah.
But then also to give a shout to Rett Johnson as well, once again, for the freshman All-American perfect game. Second team freshman All-American. Again, the season he had flirting with the all-time batting average record. Rightfully deserved here for sure. Definitely hope to see more power for next season, but man, could that guy get on base, to say the least. So huge shout out to Rett Johnson and Ty Head for both of these accolades here. But to wrap it up here, I do want to give also to a shout.
Oh, sorry. Go back 1 second. Sorry. So real quick on the Ty Head thing. So every position, with the exception of outfield, has 3 candidates. The outfield has 6. It's him, and then just wanted to do a shout out to previous Pac-9 player Jake Bechtel is also on the list for the Gold Glove. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, please continue.
Yep. So final slide here. Want to give a shout out as well and a highlight once again that when the news broke out about Taylor Black coming to NC State from Florida, we had put out a teaser about that on our very own Patreon a few days actually in advance of the news itself. So again, if you want to get in on some amazing members only content, again, 3 videos a week, plus also to access to our members only chat, make sure to go hit the link down in the description down below and join our Patreon here today. But with that being said, we'll switch it back here. Greg, any final thoughts, comments here, man?
We got about 90 days until the season starts, I think. Something, actually a little less than that, I think. But yeah, dog days of summer. That's where we're at.
That's right. I know. And now no more Hurricanes hockey either, man. So now we're just here hoping that UNC can blow a tire in the World Series. So
running out of time.
I know, run out of time. Exactly right here. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button here. And if it's lighting up for you, make sure to smash it here right now. If you also enjoyed this video, and even if you didn't enjoy it, make sure to do us a big favor, hit that like button too as well. We greatly appreciate it. And make sure to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, and also as well our Patreon. Once again, click the link down in the description below. Only $5 a month, less than a cup of coffee. I'm sure that you can find the $5 even in change in your couch per month too as well. Make sure to go and click that link down in the description below. Join here today. And also to make sure to stay tuned here as we got some amazing content coming out here this week on the YouTube channel. We got an awesome, great interview coming up here that'll be released, and some other great stuff here too as well. So make sure, again, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. But with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we really appreciate y'all as always. It's so much fun getting on here every Monday night, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. But with that being said, y'all, as always, go Pack, y'all.